Vespasian, the emperor who died standing. Vespasian arrived in Rome something like 6 or 7 months after he was formally recognized as the emperor. Order was restored, the chaos of the year of the four emperors was forgotten. Everything was business as usual, except that it wasn't really as usual. It was a slightly new regime. If you don't count the previous three short lived emperors, Vespasian was the first uncontested emperor, not only unrelated to Julio-Claudians, but basically unrelated to anyone of importance. Galba, the first non-Julian emperor, was of very noble birth. He was someone who definitely looked like an emperor. Vespasian was a guy whose father was of equestrian rank, and his grandfather was a centurion. His family had money, and he and his brother tried to make a name for themselves in the world of Roman politics. They were quite successful, but none of them was a member of, so to speak, the aristocratic dynasty. Later, when court officials tried to find the evidence that the Flavii are actually related to some gods or heroes, Vespasian basically ridiculed them and replied something in the line of, "Come on, stop it, I was born in a village." He was a guy with an interesting sense of humor, but he wasn't funny 24/7. He knew that he was a new man and something had to be done with it. So there's some evidence and there's a reasonable theory that the political PR under Vespasian took an interesting turn towards slandering the preceding rulers, except for Augustus, who was the originator of the political system of the Principate. That is one of the explanations why in the existing sources, everyone between Augustus and Vespasian is seriously flawed. And some of the emperors, like Gaius Caligula and Nero, uh, are just straightforward, grotesque caricatures. Vespasian was very mild and very respectful towards the Senate, but it seems that anyone who was in serious opposition to him faced the consequences, like the Stoic Helvidius Priscus. Vespasian also banished almost all of the philosophers from Rome. They were talking too much. Anyway, the empire was stabilized. There were no more serious disturbances, and Vespasian was a capable ruler with a serious military background and without any weird eccentricities, except, yeah, for the jokes and the fact that he was extremely stingy. Vespasian is also the author of the two best famous last words of a Roman emperor ever. Yeah, two, not one. It is reported that as he was dying, he said, "Oh dear, I think I'm becoming a god." He was fully aware that once he's dead, the Senate will actually proclaim him a god. And the second line was, "The emperor ought to die standing." After which he was lifted so he could, die standing. Titus, a younger version of Vespasian. Titus was effectively, although not officially, a co-ruler of his father for most of his reign. So when Titus Flavius Vespasianus died, his son, also named Titus Flavius Vespasianus, just kept doing what he was doing, but this time with the official title of the emperor. Politically, Vespasian and Titus were pretty much the same entity, just split into two partially distinct physical bodies. Also, ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? This is the year 79. It's been more than a century since the Principate was established. And this is the first time in the history of the Roman Empire when the emperor was succeeded by his own son. It makes you think about what political system Rome really was. The next time someone will tell you in a documentary that Rome was essentially a hereditary monarchy, go and find the guy and spit him in his face. Anyway, the historians loved Titus. His reign was, well, business as usual. It was just Vespasian number 2. One notable thing that happened during his reign was the eruption of the volcano that buried the cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum. It happened in the first year of reign of Titus, and it was a catastrophe. And a bad omen, obviously. Unfortunately, Titus didn't last long. He became ill, things like that happen, and died less than 3 years into his reign. He was succeeded by, and that's when it becomes weird, by his brother, whose name was also Titus. There is no reasonable explanation in the sources how it is possible that Vespasian, whose personal name was Titus, named both of his sons Titus. Not one, which was the norm, but both of them. Domitian. Let's play master and servant. Titus number 3 was quite different from the previous 2. He's hated by the historians, since Domitian was not only the enemy of the Senate, like Caligula or Nero, but more or less successfully took most of the power from the Senate and concentrated it in his own hands, becoming almost openly an authoritarian ruler. Both Suetonius and Cassius Dio, our main sources, mention that Domitian demanded to officially call him Dominus et Deus, Lord and God. So, Domitian is very controversial. Quite a lot of slandering by the historians, an attempt to finish the transformation of the empire into an actual absolute monarchy, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But at the same time, plenty of actions and reforms that make a lot of sense. A quite effective government, brilliant financial policies, a normal military record, and total loyalty of the armies, except probably for a strange episode of the rebellion of 2 legions in Germany under Lucius Antonius Saturninus, which was quickly crushed. Domitian ruled for 15 years and was assassinated as a result of the conspiracy. The very same day, an old and respected heavyweight of Roman politics, Marcus Caecus Nerva, was declared the new emperor. Domitian's memory was immediately condemned, meaning that the Senate passed damnatio memoriae, and he had to be excluded from all the existing accounts as a person who never existed. The soldiers actually liked Domitian a lot and looked at all what was happening with a serious disgust, which had interesting consequences.